It all began on a thick, foggy afternoon. Bella was alone in the cabin. Edward was out hunting with Emmett. Renesmee was sleeping at Esme's house. And then something changed. It wasn't a sound, not a scream, just a subtle tremor, as if the air itself had torn open. Bella rose from her chair. She felt a presence, a vibration, something deeper than the senses. And when she turned, she saw herself, but it wasn't her reflection. It was her. Bella. Same face, same voice, but no soul. The other looked at her with a smile on her lips, motionless, serene. "Hello, Isabella. You've given me a beautiful life. Thanks for warming it up. Now, let me have it." Bella stepped back, paralyzed. She knew. This wasn't a dream. It wasn't Victoria, nor a Volturi trick, not a broken vision from Alice. It was a version of herself, but more perfect, more elegant, more cruel. And she didn't breathe for love, but for power. For weeks, the figure appeared only sporadically. A reflection where there was no mirror, a whisper where no one spoke, a silhouette crossing the woods when no one was looking. Bella tried to tell someone, Edward, Alice, Carlisle, but no one saw her, no one felt her, not even Jacob could smell her. "You're just stressed," they said. "Maybe it's left over from your transformation," Carlisle suggested. But she knew something was copying her, learning, stalking. One night, Bella woke up with Edward's face inches from hers. "What are you doing?" "Shh," he whispered, stroking her cheek. "I'm just watching you sleep." She blinked. "Edward, I don't sleep." He stiffened. 1 second, 2, and then he vanished. It wasn't Edward. It was her. The other Bella, playing, testing. Then came the mistakes. Edward began to confuse them, not in appearance, but in essence. Once, he kissed her with an urgency Bella didn't recognize. "What happened? Wasn't it you? Who came to me last night?" "No, Edward, who were you with?" And his face turned paler than ever. The imposter began sowing doubt. She'd leave half-spoken sentences in conversations, touch Edward in front of the others, make choices as if she were Bella. Only Renesmee seemed to see her for what she was. "Mom, there are 2 of you, but only one sings to me." Alice was blocked. She couldn't see the future clearly. The lines split, overlapped, as if 2 Bellas were trying to occupy the same place. It's like someone's using your footprint and stepping before you. Then came the day the imposter took her place. Edward went with her to the meadow, looked at her with love, kissed her like she was the only one. Meanwhile, the real Bella watched from afar, her immortal heart beating like never before. It wasn't magic, not a spell. It was a mutation of a gift. A dark blessing passed on by an ancient vampire through a forgotten object during an innocent visit to an art gallery in Italy. A locket, a curved mirror. Bella had touched it without realizing, and with that, her reflection had come to life. A reflection that didn't want to be a shadow, but a body, a voice, a master. And now the other walked like her, loved like her, laughed like her, but didn't feel like her. And Edward was about to stop noticing the difference. Bella stood before the mirror where it all began. She was no longer human, no longer fragile. She was a mother, a lover, an ally. And she wasn't going to let it be stolen from her. "If I have to fight myself, I will, but not with hate, with truth, because love can't be copied. It's built, and mine has roots." From the shadows, the other Bella watched her, and her eyes, for the first time, blinked. Not out of humanity, but out of fear, because she knew she had stolen a face, but she could never steal the soul. The fog thickened at the edges of the clearing. Leaves crunched softly beneath the steps of someone who shouldn't exist. The imposter no longer hid. She walked through the door, had tea with Esme, laughed with Emmett, looked at Edward as if time had no past, and every day, Bella felt her world slip another inch away. Edward didn't say it, but he no longer looked at her with the same intensity. Not because he didn't love her, but because the deception was perfect. Alice, desperate, tried to find a thread in her visions, but the image repeated again and again. 2 Bellas, one chosen, one forgotten. And at every fork in the future, Edward got a little more lost. That's when Jacob decided to intervene, not with force, with instinct. He couldn't hear the minds of the Bellas, but he could smell the soul, and the imposter had a cold essence, empty, like a crystal without reflection. "Edward," he said firmly, "I don't know how you don't see it, but that isn't her." Edward hesitated, doubting hurt, because what he saw, what he touched, felt so real, and yet something was missing. Renesmee was next. She approached the imposter with a drawing, 2 mothers, one real, one that looked like cardboard. Why don't you know what lavender smells like? The imposter blinked, didn't answer. My mom tells me stories in a soft voice. You say the same words, but they don't make me feel anything. Edward tensed. What did you say? Renesmee repeated, softer. The words sound the same, but love can't be copied, Daddy. And then Edward asked something. Both of you, come with me. The two Bellas looked at each other. The imposter smiled. The real one swallowed her fear, and together they walked to the clearing, where everything had begun. I have one question, Edward said. Just one. He approached each of them, holding a pendant between his fingers. The first one he gave Bella after her transformation. What did you whisper when I gave this to you the first time? The imposter tilted her head. Her voice was exact. Thank you for not being afraid. Bella closed her eyes. That's not it. It was thank you for waiting for me so long. Edward fell to his knees, as if the weight of truth had split his soul, and when he looked up, only one Bella had tears in her eyes. The other couldn't cry, because she didn't love. She only imitated. The imposter stepped back. For the first time, her smile broke. It's not fair, she whispered. I was you too. I learned too. Bella stepped closer, not with fury, but with compassion. Then choose. Will you keep stealing my place, or will you create your own? Can I? You won't be me, but you can be you. Alice appeared, holding something in her hand, the locket, still shining, still humming. This object doesn't destroy, it transforms. If she touches it again, she'll be free. The imposter hesitated. Then she raised her hand, and for the first time, she touched it not to take, but to say goodbye. There was a flash, a heartbeat, and then she disappeared. Not in death, in freedom. Bella and Edward embraced, no words, because the soul he had always loved had never left. He had just needed to remember. Days later, Renesmee left a note in the window. To the other Bella, if you're somewhere out there, I hope you have your own Edward, one who sees you for you. Thank you for leaving me mine. And deep in the forest, a figure walked in the rain, with her eyes closed and a true smile, because finally, she was just herself, and that was enough.